Okay, we're out of closed session here, and I'm going to ask James. He's got a couple motions that to deal with that came out of closed session. So, James?
Thank you through the chair. This motion is in regards to section 239 2C personnel matters and task force applications. The motion, as discussed during closed session, was that the West Perth Building Condition Task Force terms of reference be amended to reflect a total of 10 community member representatives and 1 member of council, and that the terms be subsequently approved. And that the clerk be directed to notify the successful candidates as selected by council. And further, that Councillor Chessel be appointed as the council representative to the task force. I'll turn it back to you at this time.
Okay, so okay, all right. So you heard the recommendation that James read. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Phelps, Deputy Mayor Trnkowski. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. All right. Okay, now to wrap up, we have to go back to the asset management of hemp stocks. You would like something tonight, I take it, Wendy? Some type of direction here, so.
I think really we just want to make sure that council's comfortable with the levels of service that were presented at this point of time. As you noted, they were all fair and roads were good. It's not saying, I guess, that that's locked in stone at this point, but that's where a bunch of work would be done and brought back to council, as said, in more of a formalized report. Wendy, if I've missed that and you want to say that differently, you can come on up and say it, but okay, I got a thumbs up there. So we did go through some of the in the time we had the BCIs for the bridge report, and that's the data that is pulling this through. So you know, there are a good chunk of bridges in there that are below that 40 BCI score, and 41 and higher was fair. So I mean, we can put the bar charts up if council wants to see that from the bridge standpoint. But again, we've set that service level at fair. I don't think we'd really be recommending council to move that down any more than fair. And I think if anything, you'd look to move some up, or you'd look to bring roads down. I don't know if there's any more questions I could answer tonight, or we can put up the bridge and culvert report that we've got from BM Ross as well to quickly capture some of that data, but.
I'm okay with the recommendation as it is for that level of service as it stands. And like you said, we can move the target around a bit as we gain more information and so on. But I think this is a good starting point, right? The way it's presented.
Nicholas, did you have a comment?
Yes, Mayor, through you, Mayor McKenzie, just so that I'm clear then, what you're saying is the assets that are in poor and a very poor condition, that the plan will reflect bringing them up to fair condition or good or very good, I guess, if we're doing some work on them, that is the number that is in the proposed level of service over the next 10 years, is to bring up assets that are in poor and very poor. Do I understand that correctly? Or I can say it one more time if I was not making sense.
No, you would understand that it would be to have our average condition assessment to be in fair. So to Deputy Mayor's point earlier on, when we're looking and prioritizing assets, we certainly do that, and that's where that BCI number comes from BM Ross. That's their bridge condition index. It's not age based. It is based on visual inspection, and then they align priorities to it. So certainly when Adam and SLT are reviewing capital plans, it's essentially laid out. There is some jigging around and things like that staff have to do that way. But and again, is this the Okay, so this is the bridge report. So if you just come, if you can get down to maybe page 13 on that. Even that'll, yeah, so there's your 1 to 5 year of your bridge and culverts. So you can see the cost there, and your BCI is that index. And then the priority scoring's there. The priority scoring's a bit odd. It's not 1, 2, 3. There's got a weird way that they do it with higher numbers, but basically that's our 1 to 5 year repairs that are recommended. That way. So hopefully that clears it up.
Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
If we're going for an average assessment of fair, are we not currently maintaining a higher standard than that when 48% is in a condition, in a better condition than fair, and, or what would that be? And what is it, 83% is fair or above? Would that not be averaging a higher than fair score? So we're maintaining a higher level than that?
Is that it specifically to bridge and culvert and? or is-
In general, on the big, on number 4. Like,
Yeah. So
bridges and culverts, even then, we're still at what, 25% is below fair. It's kind of hard to tell on a bar graph, but exactly where it is. But then would that not mean we're maintaining a currently higher than that level of service?
so
On
on that
average.
pie graph, then what we're saying is average assets are in fair condition. So if you remember, we have, sorry, I got, yep. Wendy's gonna come up.
So when we looked at the overall age of things, so I'll use the library as a great example. The library's building is over 100 years old, but our useful life for buildings, we'll say, is 50. And so it shows as poor. But meanwhile, it's a functioning building that operates in good condition. And so we looked at those that were focused on aged and reevaluated them and adjusted them. And so some of this is part of that exercise, recognizing the ones that are age-based that should have a condition on them. And so buildings are, the library to me is a good example to explain that. On an age base, it shows very poor because it's well past its useful life. But we maintain it and operate it, and it's in good condition. We've invested and maintained that building. So it's hard when we look at these, we're saying those ones, we've adjusted it to be fair. Does that make sense? And how we got to the fair?
If, and Dean can vouch for this, we've done the same thing at the county on the bridges. And they were looked at, and we had bridges that, by their age, they should have had major work done, and yet they're still in relatively good shape, and they extend it for another couple of years or so, and then have a look at it again, so, yeah. Doug, go ahead.
Maybe a stupid question. So the 6% very poor, if we clean it up to good or very good, does that mean then now 11% moves to very poor and 35% moves down to poor, and or not really? Like, again, it's all based on, you got to look at the whole picture again and then break it out on a percentage. So this is a moving target, right?
Yeah, it moves, and the data is set for last year's data, so we couldn't use 25's data because we're in between information, so we made it so the starting to look at the data was anything completed in 24. So when you look at your capital projects for 25, one of the very poor bridges is getting done. And so that's a big ticket item. So that would change this graph quite significantly by bringing one of those bridges to a very good position. It has a big ticket item. So whereas if you look at a vehicle, it might be poor, but it has very little value comparatively to that almost $900 million. And so that impacts those numbers. So lot to unpack. It's very complex in how we get some of those calculations.
Like, I think too, there's a lot of good data here. And the other thing, like when you look at the reds, the machine and equipment and vehicles at 40 and 30%, but they're only 1% of the pie graph. So it's kind of a little distorting when you're looking at the red, but it's good information for sure. It's a good moving target.
Okay. You got the information you need?
Council's happy with
Well, I
that,
think they
then
are. I'm picking up that
that's all.
that's what we need. So we're good there. So do you need any direction or anything from that? Okay.
No, we just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
council was aware of this before a
Good.
bunch more work got done.
Okay, you're good, Wendy? All right, excellent. Okay. So that brings us down to the last two that we got here, and bylaw number 30, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth be read a first and second time this 20th day of May. Mover and seconder, Councilor Rose, Councilor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then third reading, bylaw number 30, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth, be read a third time and finally passed this 20th day of May. Moved by Councilor Foster, seconded by Councilor Chessel. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And the last one that we've been waiting for, that Council Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth adjourn council at 9:43. Moved by Steve, seconded by Phil. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Very good. Thank you.